Not only that, they couldn't get you no better ink for your head. You walk around in your later life looking like that? I mean, come on, Jermaine. Come on, Jermaine. Michael would have wanted better for you. I know that. And I want better for the Democrats. How you blow a 13 point? How? Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. I'm Reese Waters, and this is Street Politics, where the news cycle remains alive despite being deep in the midst of a government shutdown. So the question remains, who is winning this particular shutdown? And if you can believe it, there's been quite a few shifts in just a few weeks. All that we've been through in just a few weeks. You realize it was only a few weeks ago I got cut from the freshman basketball team and asked if I could play with the 8th graders. That's how this Trump 47 administration feels. Here's where we started.
Walk us through what the numbers are saying about who Americans are blaming right now.
Yeah, I just saw the speaker up there trying to place the blame on Democrats, but I got to be honest with you, you look at the polling data and they simply put not buying Speaker Johnson's arguments. What are we talking about? Well, why don't we just blame more for the 2025 shutdown? Normally when you see Republican on the screen, that's a good thing because they're leading. But in this case, it's a bad thing because more Americans are blaming him for the shutdown. And you can see it's a sweep across the board. You look at the New York Times poll, blame Republicans more by 7 points. How about the CBS poll, came out yesterday? Blame Republicans more by 9 points. How about the Marist University poll? Blame Republicans more by 12 points. And then the Washington Post poll takes the cake, blaming Republicans more by 17 points. You average it all together, and we're talking about a double-digit margin in which more Americans are blaming the Republicans than the Democrats. Now, perhaps that shouldn't be so surprising to students of history. Why? Because we've had a number of shutdowns in the past. And which party almost always, or basically always, seems to get blamed? It's the Republican Party that always seems to get blamed, whether it's the 95-96 shutdowns, 2013, or the 2018-2019 shutdowns. And more importantly, what I think is so important is we are still at the beginning of this shutdown, right? What happens right now in the polling may not necessarily hold going forward. But historically speaking, what we've actually seen is that the party that gets blamed at the start of the shutdowns, 95, 96, 2013, 2018, 2019, is the same party that gets blamed by the end of the shutdown. So at this point, more Americans are blaming the Republicans than the Democrats. And historically speaking, those margins have tended to hold.
Now, that is fascinating information. I can't speak to 95, 96. Shout out to Harry Enton for that. I can't speak to the historical preference to blame Republicans, but in my recent view, I certainly can. Oh yeah, I in my recent view, I'm like, yeah. I know accountability isn't your thing, but here's what's fascinating. What I would have thought was that the party in power would be the ones to blame for the shutdown, which would be a natural, logical conclusion to come to. But one thing that we have in fact learned, and we'll circle back around to this point, is that you can never accuse the American voting populace of being logical.
This is an American public that more so than ever before I've looked at the polling is willing to go to a shutdown. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. What Americans wanted pre-shutdown? Well, traditionally speaking, I got the 2013 numbers. The majority of Americans want compromise, no shutdown. You go back to 2013, just 33% said stand on principle, even if it means a shutdown. Come to this side of the screen, we see an even split, right? 50% of Americans say they want a compromise, no shutdown. But up like a rocket, standing on principle, we see now 49%, basically an even split on Americans either wanting a shutdown or, in fact, saying they want their side to stand on principle. I think we're hearing a lot of that from Chuck Schumer.
That's right, Chuck. And we've been there for a while. We've been there for a while. Yeah, Democratic leadership, all y'all, we need all the midterms. You know, we could be in a better position now if y'all actually took the temperature of the party. But no, I'll get on my nerves. You know,
Which group has shifted the most in terms of compromise or not?
You know, it was so interesting to hear those clips of Chuck Schumer being played back from 2013, from all those past shutdowns.
And just from March, right?
Potential shutdowns. And what has changed significantly is Republicans have always been willing to basically say, you know, we should shut down the government and stand on principle. But now Democrats, a significantly larger portion of Democrats say, you know what, let's stand on principle. What Democrats want a pre-shutdown? You go back to 2013, just 18% of Democrats said stand on principle. The vast majority, 76%, 3 in 4 Democrats said compromise, no shutdown. Look at this side of the screen. Look at this percentage that said stand on principle back in 2013. It was 18%. Now it's 47%, more than double. In fact, nearly triple the percentage of Democrats now say stand on principle as compared to 2013. We see a much more even split among Democrats. The 52% who say compromise, no shutdown, the 47% who say stand on principle, within the margin of error of each other. What we're seeing is a Democratic Party that is much more so than ever before saying, you know what, let's shut down the government, even if it means no compromise, so that we can stand on principle.
now I think it's worth noting here that the idea that fresh new leadership for the Democratic Party was needed is only reinforced by the growing chorus to stand on principle that was silenced all the way up until we reached this breaking point. Let's make that clear. Now, that's where we were when the shutdown began. Remember that whole thing about new leadership? Exclusive. Why the White House is convinced it's winning the shutdown. Yeah, I gotta. Well, I mean, the White House can be convinced of anything. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, Trump just a few weeks ago posted a video of himself speaking that he didn't know was AI. So what the White House thinks basically means what came across Trump's For You page. That's all that is. The only one more delusional than the White House is Paul Pierce.
I'm walking here
I don't know, Pete. This is your friend.
in my robe,
Get your friends.
no shoes on,
Somebody save him.
bare feet.
No.
If what?
If the Celtics lose tonight,
Oh, my God.
oh, don't do it, Paul. I'm walking.
Paul.
Not tonight. I'm telling you right now.
This is crazy, dog. I can't believe this. C's got me out here like this, dog. I'm sweating.
Ah, shite. I had this article and now it's blocked. I was literally reading it earlier. That's why you can't close. Oh, wait. There we go. I didn't close it. Hey! I didn't close it. Okay. Exclusive. Okay. The White House political operation is telling congressional Republicans to hold firm on the shutdown, citing internal and external polling that show Democrats' numbers are eroding. Since the shutdown started, Democrats have boasted that public opinion is on their side, but the trend line appears to be shifting, according to internal White House polling data viewed by Axios. Democrats are taking on water, and we have a higher pain tolerance, a senior administration official told Axios. Congressional Democrats' net favorability rating has decreased 6 points in 2 weeks, while Republicans' number ticked up 4 points. As of the latest polling, 33% of voters view congressional Democrats favorably compared to 54% who view them unfavorably. That's a net negative rating of minus 21%. The GOP's rating is also a net negative at minus 8%. 48% in the internal White House polling blame the shutdown on President Trump and the GOP-led Congress. 38% blame Democrats. I know. It sounds like it's a whole fire. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. This should be a 5 alarm. Because public opinion has shifted a net of 7 percentage points against the Democrats. 2 weeks ago, Democrats had a 13-point advantage on who was to blame. Now that lead has been cut by more than half. The trend line of the White House's polling numbers are consistent with YouGov/Economist surveys that show Democrats taking more blame as the shutdown grinds on. Democrats, how you blow a 13-point lead? Like how you blow a 13-point lead? We're gonna have to add this to the Warriors, how you blow a 3-1 lead, and the Falcons, how you blow a 28-3 lead. And also Jermaine Jackson, how you blow a Hazel Gordy lead. Yeah, I mean that, Jermaine Jackson, because Michael was your brother. He would have jumped on any hook that you wanted, and you married the daughter of the head of the record label, and you couldn't get a solo situation or nothing. Like, not only that, they couldn't get you no better ink for your head. You walk around in your later life looking like that? I mean, come on, Jermaine. Come on, Jermaine. Michael would have wanted better for you. I know that. And I want better for the Democrats. Now, does this mean I don't have to pay my school loans? What about my car loans? Now, because it's shut down too. The administration shut down the government because they would rather punish you than work together to make things better for you. But you know this already. Did you know that this administration and the government shut down their willingness to protect your privacy? That was done years ago, and we're still feeling the effects. Our government rolled back a rule that would have required data brokers to get your consent before selling your information. This has empowered data brokers who take all the information they can find and sell it to the highest bidder without your knowledge, which makes it even worse when we know the government lets them do it. Legally, data brokers do have to remove your private information if you tell them, but of course they make it as hard as possible to do so. They want you to feel hopeless and stuck. Sound familiar? And this is where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Aura does the hard work for you, constantly scanning the dark web and submitting opt-outs on your behalf. Give Aura a few weeks and you'll stop seeing your information on these sketchy sites when you search yourself. Aura makes it much easier. Aura doesn't just opt you out of data brokers though. Their app includes other features like dark web monitoring, fraud alerts, a VPN, and more. It's truly a great deal if you want to be more private and protected online. You can go to my link, aura.com/Reese Waters, to try 14 days for free. Again, that's aura.com/Reese Waters. And that 14 days is enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal information off these data broker sites automatically. How you blow a 13 point? How did that happen? I'm sorry. Are you once again asking for logic from the same voting populace that you just previously said can never be accused of being logical?
Let me finish my question, dog.
Man, man.
Let me hear the question.
You don't have
man.
the answers.
I'm asking you for the answer. It's a question.
That's fair. That is a fair point. That is a fair point. I'm just trying to figure out how this man was posting memes in the days before the shutdown. If you have that lack of willingness to get in and negotiate before the shutdown, you have just indicated your feelings about keeping the government open. So why would you ever shed any blame during the course of the I don't understand that. If you're posting memes, you get the blame whenever anything goes wrong. When I was working as a paralegal, and they were supposed to bring out evidence that exonerated the client, and it was a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. That was my fault because I was looking at memes when I was preparing all the exhibits. I get the blame. That's my fault. I was looking at memes. How is this? How do you ever shed any blame when that's the way you went in to the shutdown? Here's a question I have for you. If you ran into a shop owner on the street and he said, why don't you come by the shop? We got a deal on cold cuts. I give them to you for half price. And then you show up to the shop and he says, oh, you know what? I changed my mind on my way down here. So yeah, no deal. You would be cool with that? You would continue to trust that particular shop owner if that's how they treated you? Now imagine the president did it with the prices of everything. He told you prices were going to drop. He told you how much more affordable life was going to be and told you by Christmas that wasn't going to happen. How are you still trusting this man and his agenda? I just, we just went through 2024, which made no logical sense. We've gone through the first several months of Trump 47, his institution of Project 2025, which he disavowed the entire time. We've had FAFO season left, right, and center, and yet somehow their messaging is still effective and moving and changing public opinion. How, Sway?
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Harry, it's been almost 1 year since the election. Well, how are voters feeling right now about the president?
Sometimes I think it's worth taking that 35,000 vote view. And as far as the American people are concerned, Trump could be better known as Steady Eddie. What are we talking about here? Well, why don't we take a look here? Favorable view of Donald Trump. You go back to October of 2024, 44% of the American public viewed him favorably. Now, despite everything, look at this, 43%, which is well within the margin of error of that 44%. And here's the thing to keep in mind. This was good enough to get Trump reelected back in 2024. And Donald Trump is basically at the same point here right now, which I think would surprise a lot of folks, especially a lot of folks on the left who very much disagree with a lot of what Donald Trump has done.
I can't help you. I can't help you. I can't help you. Yeah. Because even their own behavior with regards to the midterms and the widespread gerrymandering, the need to try and distract and deflect from all opposition indicates that even they don't believe this yet. If they believe this, they wouldn't be moving like they are. I can tell you that right now.
What do you see is underneath that and driving that? Why is he basically the same?
Okay, to quote the esteemed caller Dennis Green, the former head coach in the National Football League, Donald Trump is who the voters thought he was. What are we talking about here? Well, is Trump doing what he promised in the 2024 campaign? Yes, 52%. The majority of Americans say that Donald Trump is doing what he promised compared to 48% who said no. So what essentially is going on here is the voters expected all of this from Donald Trump. The majority did, and that is why his favorable rating, simply put, has not really moved all that much compared to where it was a year ago. Trump is basically doing what the American people thought that he was going to do. Indeed, if you look at the numbers, Trump has basically the steadiest favorable rating this much through a presidency of any president on record, and it's basically where he was a year ago, good enough to get him reelected.
Okay, do you know who I want you to tell that Trump is doing what he promised? First, I want you to tell the farmers. Further, I want you to tell the farmers. I want you to tell all of the factory workers. I want you to tell the Latinos for Trump. Oh, he lied. He meant. Yeah, I want you to tell Latinos for Trump. I want you to tell them that. I want you to tell the manosphere, all the right-wing podcast bros and the comedians. This is not what I voted. Tell Rogan and them. That's what you. I want you to all. That's what I need you to tell them. Just send the clip. It'll work as an attachment.
So then what are you saying is how this is impacting midterms?
Yeah, okay. So one of the questions we basically had as we've gone on through the numbers, right, is that Democrats have not been able to run away with it. And now we know it's basically because Donald Trump is where he thought he was, which was good enough for the Republicans to maintain control of the House last time around. Look at this, the race for Congress, Dems versus Republican margin. You look at the New York Times poll, it was tied a year ago at this point. Now it's Democrats +2 within the margin of error. Look at Yahoo YouGov. It was +3 Democrats at this point a year ago. Now it's +4. Maybe the Democrats have gained a little bit, But in reality, Kate, what we're really seeing is that the American public is pretty much steady. They are basically where they were a year ago at this point. Maybe Democrats can take control of the House where the polling is right now, but maybe not, because the bottom line is we've seen numbers fairly similar to what we have right now. We had it a year ago, and it was not good enough for Democrats to take control. The bottom line is this: as long as Donald Trump is where he is, Republicans will, in fact, remain competitive. If they, in fact, gain a little bit, it really would not be that surprising to me if Republicans were able to maintain control of the House, especially given their redistricting efforts in many of those states.
But see, that's your contradiction right there. That is your contradiction. Their aggressive need to break all precedent and redistrict aggressively the way that they have tells you that this is not how they particularly see things. But what I will say, though, is that if it's close, it's going to go bad. This is going to be like watching a Chiefs game. This is going to be like watching a Chiefs game, because we know that it's MAGAs embedded in a lot of these states, and their adherence to the Constitution is in word only. We know that. We've also seen, widespread suspicion at some of the counts that came out of the blue wall states last time around. And we know Elon Musk and his Skylink will be floating around here somewhere. They done somehow got back together and think we forgot that he just openly said he was on the Epstein files and he was swaying in the White House and the Oval Office off the dog food with a black eye. They just, they Men in Black. Y'all ain't see nothing. And that's not to mention him just doing a soft launch of a military presence on the ground now. And you don't think that's something that they got their eye on for next year while people are trying to exercise their constitutional right to vote?
A federal judge blocked President Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Portland. The president is losing in court on this, but is he losing in the court of public opinion? CNN chief data analyst Harriet, who just made a lap around the entire studio.
I don't know what that was. I guess they're thinking I need more exercise.
You showed up here at the wall at the exact right moment. What's public opinion saying right now about the use of National Guard troops, the deployment into cities?
Yeah, it's a political loser, John. It's a political loser. Donald Trump may think it's a political winner, but it's a political loser. Oppose Trump deploying in a U.S. city, active duty U.S. military, 61%. The National Guard in particular, 58%. When you get 3 in 5 Americans agreeing on anything, you know if that is on the opposition side, it's a political loser. And among independents, who are, of course, that key block in the middle of the United States political electorate, we're talking about 2/3 of independents there and about who oppose the deployment of either active duty U.S. military or National Guard into U.S. cities.
What are the questions that people are asking, or what are the issues they see with these deployments?
Okay, look, I think it's that they don't buy Donald Trump's case for why these troops must go into the U.S. cities. So the New York Times essentially gave you a two-pronged little answer here, right? Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate rivals, or big city crime will spiral out of control if the troops don't go into cities. What you see here is the majority that takes the case is that Trump may use the National Guard to intimidate political rivals at 51%. Just 42% of Americans agree with the Donald Trump stance that, in fact, big city crime will spiral out of control if the National Guard doesn't go into U.S. cities. So essentially what we're seeing here is Donald Trump's making a case, the Democratic opposition's making another case, and the Democratic opposition's case is winning here, and that is a big reason why what you see is you get about 3 in 5 Americans saying they don't want troops going into U.S. cities.
You have another really interesting way at looking at this. President Trump seems uniquely focused on Portland, on Memphis, on these cities and crime there. What do voters think he should be focused on?
Okay, so if you saw the opening slide on this segment, right, it was, has Trump taken his eye off the ball? The American people believe, yes, John Berman, Donald Trump has taken his eye off the ball. There is too much focus on putting troops into U.S. cities. 52%, the majority of Americans agree that the Trump admin is focusing too much on that. Where do they want him to go? They want him to focus on lowering prices. 75% say there's too little focus on lowering prices. This is the reason that Donald Trump was put into office, was to lower prices. And at this particular point, 3 in 4 Americans say there is too little focus. Donald Trump is focusing on the wrong things, and they don't like the way he's going about it. And this, my friends, will tell the entire story if it holds a year from now, going into the midterm elections. If the Republicans lose control of the House, dare lose control of the Senate, it will be because they believe that Donald Trump has lost focus. He is not keeping his eye on the ball, and they believe he is not focusing enough on lowering prices.
So let me get this straight. A majority of Americans oppose National Guard troops in U.S. cities. A majority of Americans believe that he would use National Guard troops in U.S. cities to intimidate political rivals, which is completely outside of any consideration or discussion that we've had prior to this point. A majority of Americans believe that he would do that with the National Guard in U.S. cities. Furthermore, 75% believe that he's dropped the ball, taken his eye off the ball, and is given too little attention to lowering prices, which is what he ran on, and they have in fact gone up. So we're talking about an unpopular deployment of troops in U.S. cities, a belief he would use them to intimidate rivals, and 75% saying too little on lowering prices, and they've gone up. But yet still a majority of those polled said he is doing what he said he was going to do, and his popularity remains steady.
Why is it that the Democrats, in my mind, are facing more pressure, those Democratic leaders? And that is because their base thinks that their party leaders are weak. Look at this. Democrats on who has strong leaders. Look at this. 54% say neither party, 54% of Democrats say neither party has strong leaders. Among Republicans, 80% of their base thinks Republicans have strong leaders. Yet among Democrats, just 35% of Democrats say their party has strong leaders. When you add together this 54% with this 11%, we're talking about 2/3 of Democrats who say neither party or Republicans have stronger leaders, as compared to just 35% who say their own parties have strong leaders. As I said at the top, weak is how Democrats view their leaders in Washington.
But facing more pressure too, does this suggest, and we'll continue with this, but the question then is, does this suggest that the pressure is for them to cut a deal or to stand against what they think is what Republicans want? That remains kind of the question in and of this. But getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Who gets stuff done?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the other thing. It's not just that Democrats think that their party leaders are weak. They also think they don't get anything done. I mean, take a look here. Okay, Democrats and who get things done. Again, it's just 50. We get this 50% of Democrats say neither party gets anything done. Just 41% of Democrats say their own party gets stuff done. When you add in this 9% of Democrats who say the Republican Party is more likely to get things done with neither party, we're talking about 3 in 5 Democrats who say neither party or Republicans are more likely to get things done than the Democratic Party. And again, that is the complete inverse of how Republicans feel, because 77% of Republicans think their own party leaders are likely to get things done, compared to just 41% of Democrats, about half that level, who think their own leaders get things done. Again, Democrats just don't think very highly of their party at this point, and that is why there's so much pressure on those leaders, in my mind, in Washington to actually do something that satisfies their base.
I ain't gotta say nothing. Just look at the numbers. Look at that. Here you go. Hey. Yeah, just look at that. There you go. You got it. Hey, don't take that in the bathroom. We'll leave it right here till you come out. All right. But it's all in there. It is all in there. I don't want to hear. Now, hey, forget all the opining. That's what the numbers say. And by the way, about these midterms that y'all just supposed to stay in the closet until the midterm. We got a plan for the midterms. We just gonna be quiet to the midterms a little bit. Is that so?
This is what Democrats are looking at in terms of a challenge to take back the House, the current balance of power. With those vacancies, if they are filled the way we expect them to be, it would be 220 seats for the Republicans. There it is, 220 for the Republicans, 215 for the Democrats. And that would mean Democrats really would only need a net gain of 3 seats to get the House. Now, keep in mind, Republicans are trying to redraw maps in a number of states right now to boost that total. So there may be more of a pad here for Republicans than meets the eye when you just look at this balance of power. So that's one challenge for Democrats. But of course, Democrats are hoping that this goes like the midterm did in Trump's first term. And if it did, this would be nothing because Democrats gained 40 seats. It was a blue wave in Trump's midterm. So the thing about that midterm the first time around was you could see it coming from a long way away. October 2017, more than a year out, the generic ballot asking folks which party do you want to see control Congress. Democrats were leading on average in the generic ballot by nearly 8 points. And this was the level they basically maintained through all of 2018, right up to Election Day, right up to the blue wave when they gained 40 seats and flipped the House. So where is the generic ballot right now? Well, Democrats lead it, but not by nearly as much. It's a 3-point average lead for Democrats on the generic ballot now. So again, this is not terrible news for Democrats, but there was clarity even at this point in 2018 that something was coming. This number suggests you're not at that point right now. And one of the reasons Democrats may not be at the point has to do with this, the image of each party. Again, looking back here at October of 2017, if you looked at all the polling back then, neither party was popular, but one party was a lot less popular than the other. Republicans in Trump's first term, 27% average favorable score at this point. Democrats were up at 39%. There was a pretty clear imbalance there. It worked to the favor of Democrats. What do you have right now when you run these same numbers? Well, again, neither one's popular, but the Republicans are sitting at 41 favorable, the Democrats at 35 favorable. The Democrats are less popular than the Republicans now. And that's one of the things when you look at midterm elections, the opposition party counts on getting a bit of a boost just from being sort of the protest vehicle for anyone who's got issues with the White House. Democrats, though, with numbers like that, you got to worry a little bit. Are people wanting to send a message to them as well, Gabe?
Yeah. I don't know why you thought it would be magically different. Hey, there you go. And by the way, you do have some extremely popular members of your caucus. Maybe spend less of your time criticizing and muzzling them. You know, I don't know. It feels like joining the Republicans, who clearly have identified where the problem spots lie, the potential holes and chinks in their armor that could be exploited by specific individuals in your caucus. They clearly have identified the targets they see as threats. Maybe stop joining them in your criticism. But then again, I don't know. Let's see how low it can go. How low can you go? How low can you go? Hey, now is not the time. To the windows, to the wall. I know you still winning the shutdown, but look at the trend lines. Tighten up. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. And as you can see, we made it 600,000 subscribers. So you know what that means. We gonna party. So be on the lookout for notifications of a members live.
A house party. House party? The mother of house parties, man. A pajama jammy jam.
And of course, I gotta extend huge gratitude to all the people whose hard work have made 600,000 possible. Like my man David, whose work on the thumbnails is unmatched. Of course, our editors, Denzel and Boz.
The most diabolical haters this side of the Mississippi. Buck Nasser, what can I say about that suit that hasn't already been said about Afghanistan?
And all of the fantastic mods going all the way to the very beginning with Mariana and Dank and Deshauna, Roberta, Larry, Wendell, Chernobyl, Midnight Oracle, Lovely Nola, and of course, TJ, who just got added, Miss Ray, who runs the whole entire ship.
You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you?
And Regina, whose research has made all of these videos so much better than they ever could have been otherwise. And by the way, I think we have a new newsletter that you should check out as well. And I know she thinks I forgot her, but no, I never could. My girl, Kristen, who sent me this photo with her dope mug, and it looks fantastic. Thank you so much for all your hard work as a mod. Thank you for the pick, and thank you for being 10 toes down with the channel. And while we're on the topic of merch, some of you guys might have heard of a new website. That is the People's Getup. That is the peoplesgetup.com. That is the site whose content you'll be seeing soon right here on the YouTube channel. You know, things get a little complicated when you cry and cross streams. So we couldn't connect it from the reesewaters.com. We had to develop a whole nother website. Don't even get me started. I'll probably have a members video just ranting all about that whole process.
I hate you. I hate you. I don't even know you, and I hate your guts. I hope all the bad things in life happen to you and nobody else but you.
Thanks to my wife for that one. But check out the peoplesgetup.com for all the merch you'll be seeing soon right here on the channel. You can pick it up right there. And by the way, there's lots of new stuff there and more to come for the holidays.
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
Is that a Who Raised Y'all shirt? Yes, it came recommended. What's that? Oh, the sixes? No, because I got 4 6s. I got 4 6s. So if you have 4, it nullifies it. 3 is a problem. If you have 4, then you good. Where I saw that? 2 Corinthians in the Trump Bibles. 2 Corinthians. That's what. So yeah. So I'm good.